I will ask you guys a question, as many of the speakers before. How many of you live in cities or towns? Global urban planet. So guys, I'm sorry, but you're part of the problem. As our cities, they consume 80% of energy. They create 75% of greenhouse gases, but they only take 2% of our land. So for example, the city of London, it needs approximately 50,000 square kilometers to sustain itself. It's a huge ecological footprint. Much so it needs a territory larger than Switzerland. So I will take you through a journey through some cities around the globe, and we will see about the challenges and the potentials and the solutions the cities can bring. So please go. And this was one of the first pictures I've seen when I arrived to work at the ETH of Zurich. You see the tipsy-looking cow next to my name, which is part of a farm and an urban agriculture concept that is situated next to the science city of Zurich. But looking also at the planet, we have now the urban planet. First time in history, we have more than 50% of our citizens living in cities. And you see all the dramatic numbers, Mexico City, 23 million people, etc. Exactly, so this is what happens. We will have also until in the next 15 years, 2 more billion people living in our global cities. But how does it look at the eye scale? And what the cities create? They create crime, the picture of Caracas in the up. They create climate problems, climate change. You all heard about it, 2 or 3%. And they create density. They decrease life quality. And this is how it looks, how cities in Latin America look like. Again, this is where the majority of the 2 billion people in the next 15 years will settle. So we have to deal with that. And the question is, why am I talking about that to you? And as you said, it's connected somehow to my personal story. I grew up in the city of Sarajevo. That was a couple of times in world media. The First World War started there. Then the Olympics happened. And then the city turned into a chaos in the 90s in the war. And we moved to Berlin. And the city that also has a very complex history. You see the urban planner, Albert Speer, and his boss on the picture there. And you see what Berlin looked like after this. So again, the cities, the solutions, I tried to kind of find on my own path. And let's jump. Let's go to Sao Paulo. In Sao Paulo, people spend approximately 35 days of every year in traffic jams. And this is how the urban development looks like in Brazil. Of course, all of us know about the World Cup, about the Olympics, and this is how part of the Olympic infrastructure was created by burning down favelas. And but still, even in Sao Paulo, you can have also innovative solutions. So how to create livable spaces, how to cities turn into our playgrounds, and that's an example of a city, of the highway being turned on Sundays into a public ground. And staying in Latin America, the fragmented city of Caracas, you see the formal city on the down and the informal city, and then a very interesting project that we also be involved on connecting those two with innovative cable car system. A friend from 10 Francs note, Le Corbusier, who had a great idea to just destroy this old town of Paris and replace it with 50-story skyscrapers. You think it belongs to architectural history. I think he fought investors nowadays. So those are concepts that eventually, also in China, which you can see on the right, turned into something we call ghost cities. Cities with 2 or 3 million people that they can accommodate, but they have 150, 2,000 living there. And this is how urban solutions very often look like in architectural and urban magazines. They tackle the climate and economic problems of cities that also they're also in the first world. In the US, you can see some examples from Detroit here, the first city that had 1 million people and then went under this line and went bankrupt. Now it's a bit recovering, but you see spaces being turned into parking areas. Jumping back to the Balkans, Kosovo, where the majority of the Swiss football national team comes from. That's the statue of Bill Clinton and his wife, also later visiting a place, a public place, and a shop that was renamed after her. But then let's go back to look at, again, public spaces in Zurich. And this is an excerpt from, you cannot see it very well, of the Bourne's Identity, Matt Damon sleeping in a park in Zurich. And he's being, let's say, interrupted, and then he reacts very critically and beats up like 2 cops. But again, it tells you about the repression, how cities become generic and become uniform, and then I would say also they prevent us to become who we are and sort of develop our own identity on our way, sort of way of thinking and working. And back to Zurich again. This is the one idea from the 60s, how new grounds should be sort of developed in Zurich. And that's inspired by the Tokyo Bay project from Japan. But again, you see also Zurich, we don't think it's sometimes so creative in urban solutions, but they have those very avant-garde ideas. And can you see there? And that's what happens in Zurich today. You see that Labitzke Areal Altstätten, this says no architects. And on the right is our beautiful viaduct where we now. So again, I would say we should open our eyes and see what happens around us in our cities. And that's, I want to finish with this picture of, again, Brazil. That's not a Photoshop collage. That's a picture that shows we have a big elephant in our backyard. Let's be aware of it. Thank you very much.